Welcome to the My Citizen Agency channel. Today we will discuss a topic that is important for anyone planning to move to the European Union: how pensions work, how much work experience you need, and what you can realistically expect. Short and to the point. The pension systems of EU countries are based on a multi-level model, where the state provides basic guarantees and individuals generate additional income through work and personal savings. This structure makes the system stable and predictable. State pension. The basic part, formed from mandatory contributions by the employer and the employee. The amount depends on length of service, contributions paid, and annual coefficients. Pensions are indexed to protect against inflation. Occupational professional pension, an additional level created by the employer and employee. In some countries, it is mandatory and can constitute a significant part of the future pension. The more stable the career and the higher the income, the greater the savings. Private savings, voluntary programs, private funds, insurance savings, individual investment accounts. EU countries encourage them with tax breaks, which helps increase future income and financial flexibility. There is a trend in European Union countries toward gradually raising the retirement age. This is due to increased life expectancy and the need to maintain the sustainability of pension systems. At the same time, most countries use a flexible approach. The final age depends on the length of insurance coverage, and in some cases, early retirement is allowed if certain conditions are met. Average and current benchmarks for key countries: Germany, the retirement age is 66 and is gradually increasing to 67. The transition is taking place in stages according to a predetermined schedule. Netherlands, the retirement age is around 67. It is directly linked to changes in average life expectancy, so it is adjusted automatically. Spain, the retirement age ranges from 66 to 67, depending on the number of years of insurance coverage. To receive a full pension, you must meet the coverage requirements, otherwise the age will be higher. France, under the current reform, the retirement age is being raised to 64. The change is being introduced gradually, taking into account transitional provisions. Poland, the fixed retirement age is 60 for women and 65 for men. The country has no plans to raise these limits, but the size of the pension depends directly on the accumulated capital. Czech Republic, the current retirement age is around 64, with a long-term goal of 65. The authorities regularly review the formulas, taking demographic data into account. Slovenia, the standard retirement age is 65, subject to a minimum length of service. If you have a long insurance record, you can retire early without significant losses. Features of the European approach. Most EU countries adhere to the principle that the longer you work, the earlier you can retire without significant financial losses. This is called a flexible retirement age. It is also worth noting that almost all EU countries are introducing transition periods so that changes are gradual and do not affect those who are close to retirement age. Entitlement to a state pension in European Union countries is directly linked to the number of years for which a person and their employer have paid compulsory pension contributions. This period is called the insurance period. The EU operates on the principle that the longer the confirmed length of service, the higher the pension and the wider the choice of options for retirement. Examples of minimum requirements in different countries. Germany, minimum contribution period, 5 years. This is the so-called minimum insurance period, which entitles you to a basic old age pension. Spain, minimum contribution period, 15 years. However, in order to receive a full pension, you must meet higher requirements for the number of years of contributions, otherwise the amount will be reduced proportionally. Poland. To be eligible for a pension, you must have a confirmed length of service of at least 20 years for women and 25 years for men. The length of service can be actual or confirmed by documents. Czech Republic. The minimum length of service required is 35 years. This figure includes both the actual period of employment and certain social periods counted by the state, for example, childcare. Transitional rules apply for those approaching retirement age. Slovenia. The right to a state pension arises with a minimum of 15 years of service. However, if a person has accumulated 40 years of insurance service, they can retire earlier than the standard age. This is one of the most flexible approaches in the region. The European principle of aggregation of service. One of the key advantages of the EU is the coordination of social security systems. This means that if a person has worked in several EU countries, all years of service are added together. Each country pays its share of the pension for the period of work on its territory. Service acquired, for example, in Germany, Poland, the Czech Republic, or Slovenia, is taken into account in any other country where a person applies for pension rights. It is important to note that it is the length of service that is added up, not the income. Each country calculates payments based only on the salaries and contributions received during the period of employment on its territory. Why is the minimum length of service so important? It determines the right to receive a state pension. It affects the amount of future payments. It allows for a reduction in the retirement age in countries where there are benefits for long service, for example, Slovenia or Spain. It helps to avoid situations where a person works for many years, but in different countries. The EU protects such workers through a common summation mechanism. The amount of the state pension in EU countries is determined by a straightforward mechanism. It depends on the number of years of insurance contributions, the level of earnings throughout working life, and the current coefficients, which are updated annually by national pension funds. In most countries, this formula is transparent. The higher the income and the longer the official career, the higher the final payment. The main parameters affecting the pension amount are insurance period, the number of years during which mandatory contributions were paid, amount of contributions paid, a person's actual contribution to the pension system, average earnings, taken into account in recalculations and depends on a specific formula, annual coefficients, updated to protect pensions from inflation and changes in salary levels, retirement age, retiring later often increases the amount of the payment. Approximate guidelines for EU countries. The following figures are average state pension figures based on official data and typical length of service. Germany, approximately €1,500 before taxes. The actual amount depends heavily on the number of pension points accumulated. Netherlands, basic state pension AOW, approximately €1,400 for one person. This is a fixed amount that does not depend on income, but is linked to the number of years lived in the country. Spain. The average old age pension is around €1,300. A full pension requires a long period of service, over 35 years. France. The average is around €1,400, but the specific amount depends on the system to which the employee was linked, general, state, specialized. Slovenia. The average state pension is approximately €870 to €950, depending on length of service, income, and indexation coefficients. How pension amounts are calculated. The EU countries apply the principle of proportionality. The longer the length of service and the higher the official income, the higher the pension. In Germany and France, the pension points that an employee receives annually play a decisive role. The Netherlands uses a more universal approach. The amount of AOW is linked not to income, but to the number of years of residence in the country. Therefore, high pensions are provided by additional professional funds. In Slovenia, the size of the pension directly depends on the accumulated contributions, that is, the actual amount that was paid into the system during the years of employment. In Spain and France, the share of earnings that is taken into account for the calculation plays an important role. The higher the salary, the higher the future pension. Indexation is an annual review of the size of state pensions, which allows them to maintain their purchasing power. Thanks to indexation, payments do not depreciate due to price increases or changes in salary levels. There is no single formula for all EU countries, but three main models are used. Indexation to inflation. Pensions are increased by the official inflation rate. This ensures stability, but pensions may lag behind if wages grow faster. Indexation to average wage growth. Pension amounts are linked to wage dynamics in the country in order to maintain a balance between the incomes of workers and pensioners. Mixed formulas. The most common option, part of the indexation is based on inflation, part on wage growth, with possible adjustments depending on the economic situation. This approach provides both protection against inflation and stability for the system. Working after retirement is permitted in most EU countries and is encouraged in many cases. Governments are interested in keeping experienced professionals active and allowing retirees to earn additional income. However, the rules for combining work and retirement depend on the country and the person's age. Germany. Once you reach full retirement age, you can work without restrictions. Before that age, there are limits, and exceeding your income will reduce your pension. Spain. Combining work and retirement is possible if certain conditions are met, such as sufficient length of service and compliance with the employment format. If you work part-time, your pension may be adjusted. France. With a full pension, you can work freely. With a partial pension, there are income restrictions and a general limit. Slovenia. Part-time employment is permitted with a significant portion of the pension retained. The state encourages employers to hire retirees on flexible schedules. Why it is beneficial: work provides additional income, can increase future payments, keeps people active, and reduces the gap between working earnings and income in old age. Flexible combination is an important part of EU pension policy, allowing people to choose the retirement regime that suits them best. For those who move to EU countries at a mature age, there are clear rules for calculating future pensions. The European system is based on the insurance principle. Pensions are calculated only for official years of work and contributions paid. Basic rules for immigrants. Only official work experience counts. The calculation includes the years for which insurance contributions were actually paid. Unofficial work is not taken into account. Minimum work experience is required. Each country has its own threshold. If it is not met, a pension will not be granted, but the accumulated years can still be used for aggregation within the EU. Work experience is aggregated between EU countries. If a person has worked in several EU countries, all years are counted together, and each country pays its share. Automatic data exchange. Pension funds request information from each other, so people do not need to transfer documents or confirm their length of service manually. Social assistance for insufficient length of service. If a person has not accumulated the minimum length of service or receives too small a pension, EU countries may grant social assistance. Its amount and conditions depend on income, property, and length of residence. In addition to state pensions, many EU residents use additional savings instruments. These help to generate a higher and more stable income in old age, and governments often support such programs with tax breaks. This is particularly relevant where the basic pension only covers basic needs. Main types of supplementary savings. Corporate pension funds, offered by employers. The employer pays contributions for the employee, and in some countries, the employee can pay extra themselves. The terms are set out in the employment contract. Such funds are widely developed in the Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, and Germany, and often provide a significant portion of future pensions. Private pension funds, voluntary programs that individuals open on their own. They allow you to choose the size of contributions and investment strategy, forming long-term capital. The funds are regulated by the state for protection and transparency. Individual long-term savings accounts. Tax-advantaged instruments that include investment funds, insurance savings, pension deposits, and combined products. Additional savings help increase future pensions, compensate for gaps in employment history, increase financial independence, and create capital that can be passed on to heirs. The earlier a person starts such programs, the higher and more stable their income will be in old age. EU pension systems operate according to a simple logic. State pensions provide a basic income, while occupational and private schemes help to significantly improve the standard of living in old age. The retirement age is gradually increasing, but in many countries, long service allows people to retire earlier. Minimum insurance experience is a mandatory requirement, and experience accumulated in different EU countries is automatically added together. The size of the pension depends on experience, contributions, income, and annual indexation, which protects payments from inflation. In many countries, it is permitted to combine work and retirement. For immigrants, the key rule is that pensions are only calculated based on official years of work and contributions paid. Additional corporate and private programs make it possible to increase future income and make it more stable. If you are just planning to immigrate and want to understand in advance what you can expect from the pension system, leave a request for a free consultation at the link in the description. We will study your situation, draw up your personal immigration plan, and prepare a complete set of documents for successfully obtaining citizenship in one of the EU countries. We work individually, taking into account your goals, your lifestyle, and your situation. Thank you for watching this video. If you are interested in this topic, subscribe to the channel and feel free to ask questions in the comments. We regularly publish program reviews, answer frequently asked questions, and share important news about immigration law and life in the EU. Your journey to Europe begins with the first step. My Citizen Agency is there for you every step of the way.